I kind of feel that the government should be run openly and full view of we the people, since it's us that you work for.
513 East 1700 North. I'm on the committee. I'm making these decisions, making these recommendations. It's a steering committee. We ought to be clear about that. It's not a committee that makes decisions. It's a committee that looks at information and makes recommendations to the city council so that it can go through the proper channels. I asked to be on the committee, and considering the current city council, I have lost to every single one of them. And so, but they invited, you know, they welcomed me and said that it would be no problem for me to be on there. I wanted to serve this city. I wanted to do some good in the community. And so I joined this committee. I was allowed to join this committee. And I want to tell everyone here that the kinds of secretive backroom deals that are being alluded to never happened. I was there for all of it. I've been to all the meetings. None of that happened. When we looked at the selection process, we considered a lot of studies. You can see the studies, you can see the notes, you can see all of the places that were considered.
We can't see
Where do you see that?
It's been closed.
There, yesterday I talked to my wife about this committee. I've been on the committee a year. It's the first time. It's not because I don't trust my wife. It's because that there are things that it's not appropriate for me to talk about because of the sensitive nature of them. A lot of people don't understand that we don't live in a democracy. We live in a republic. In a democracy, every single law would go before the affected citizens, and they would all have a chance to vote on it. And we would not have any laws, and that would be anarchy. Because you can't reach consensus when you have that many people involved. The meeting tonight shows that. How far would we be toward a public works building that is absolutely necessary, that was necessary prior to this date? How far would we be if every single committee meeting was run like this? The committee was asked to spend some extra time that they probably didn't have, to sit down and go through this carefully and very rigorously look at all of the options available. And I'm proud of the work that that committee did. I live on 1700 North, I just said. The trucks that go to Mountain Road are probably going to go down my road where my kids play. The trucks that go to Mountain Road are going to go down 2600 regardless of where this goes, because it's a main thoroughfare in the city. If you don't want the trucks in your neighborhood, you won't have the streets plowed. You won't have the sand and the gravel on the street. The trucks have to travel throughout the city. There's no way around that, unless you plow it yourself. I understand that this is an emotional topic. I'm hoping that the people that are so upset about this will understand that, in my opinion, the proper process has been followed. And maybe you don't have a chance to have seen all that information yet. We've been working for a year. I don't think that you've had time to even come to understand everything that went on. And maybe you would disagree with it if you saw it. But I am here to tell you that I joined this committee so that I could rest assured that I had done everything I could. And I feel like this committee's done an extremely good job of tackling one of the most difficult issues facing us right now. Thank you.
My name's Allison Ludlow. I live at 2771 North, 1275 East. And I just want to address the last gentleman's comment on our government. I understand that we do live in a republic and we do vote for the people to represent us. However, quoting someone who was far far smarter than I ever will be. Just a little quote. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people shall not perish from the earth. That's a little quote from Abraham Lincoln in the Gettysburg Address. Thank you.
Thank you. This is Dave Carlson, who's our city attorney.
I'm probably the last person anyone wants to hear from, but there's been a lot of comments on public process and closed meetings, and just wanted to weigh in a little bit on that and say that as the city attorney, part of my responsibility is to make sure that the city operates by the playbook that it has. And the playbook is the federal and state constitution, the state laws, the city ordinances. Virtually everything this city does is regulated by laws. And that's my responsibility, to make sure that the people that you have elected and the people that they have appointed operate within the bounds of the constitutions and the law. And that includes transparency and the way that decisions are made. Now, there's been some allegations that I've heard that there were improprieties in the way that discussions were held regarding the public works building, and I just want you to know that as long as I've been around and observing the processes, that is highly inaccurate. That is not true. The discussions that were held in the closed session that was held a few weeks back were not only lawful to be held in closed session. That was very appropriate to hold closed session to discuss those things. In fact, in my opinion, it would have been foolhardy to discuss the things that were discussed in a public meeting. Can't go into detail about the matters that were discussed. That's the reason that they're discussed in a closed meeting. For your city government to represent you well, for them to protect your precious tax dollars, and to make sure that when they do business, that they do it wisely and prudently, there are certain discussions that have to be held in confidence. And that's why you've elected these individuals and put your trust in them so that they can make decisions for you. And I tell you that I can't go into detail about the conversation, but it had entirely to do with the city's evaluation of a number of different parcels of property that it was looking at as a possible site for public works. It had to do with a careful analysis that the city had made of all of the pluses and minuses for those properties, and which ones and the city's relative value for those properties. Now, in order for the city to be able to negotiate with the owners of those property in a fair way, those are things that the city has to keep confidential. I think you can understand that, but that would be foolish to have that discussion. Now, I've only been representing government entities for about 20 years, and so there's probably some in this room that have more experience than I do, but I've never seen these kinds of discussions held in a public meeting, and they shouldn't be. And as the attorney for the city, it would be my advice to them not to hold these kinds of discussions in a public meeting, because it would be harmful to the city's interests. And I have to tell you that there was nothing inappropriate about it. There was nothing inappropriate. They were talking about the purchase of real property. The state law specifically allows that to be held in a closed meeting. There's been some comments that there was a vote taken in the closed meeting. That never happened. I was there in the closed meeting. I was there watching and making sure that everything that happened in that closed meeting was according to law. And there was no vote. And as the city attorney, I would never allow that to happen.